Good morning, everyone. Hi, coming to you live from, well, not live, but coming to you from Bedroom Classroom. So, I'm going to do my read aloud and I am going to go over figurative language. We are narrowing down. The book only has a couple more chapters, so we'll get through that. Today, I am going to read chapters 16 and 17 right now. Tomorrow, 18, 19, Thursday, chapter 21. So that way we'll be finished with the book and we can kind of move forward with some questions and things. Quick side notes. I hope everybody is doing okay. I do have still some gifts to give out. I haven't forgotten about some people. Azaria, actually, a couple more people. I know Azaria for sure, for my giveaway. So I am still collecting those. I ordered some stuff, so I'm waiting for that stuff to come, and it's moving really slow. So don't. I didn't forget about you. But we also going to talk about figurative language. I know last week we talked about hyperboles, idioms, which I am going to recap those. And we also talked about, this week we're going to talk about alliterations, and it was one more, alliterations and, onomatopoeias, my favorite. How can I forget that? Okay, so right now, again, I would be outside, but it is a little cool. But it's okay. We're from the inside classroom, so we'll be making it happen. All right, here we go. Let's go on with Off to the Fair, chapter 16. Chapters, this one is about how Charlotte is helping Wilbur, and instead of him off to the dinner table, he's off to the fair. Because of all Charlotte's wonderful weaving and wonderful words being terrific, some pig, the Zuckermans decided not to eat him. So they're going to take him to the fair. And at the fair, of course, Charlotte is going to help him. But it's becoming Charlotte's time where she is getting ready to, she needs to be still. She didn't want to go for reasons that she didn't explain. But let's go on and read and find out. The night before the county fair, everybody went to bed early. Fern and Avery were in bed by 8. Avery lay dreaming that the Ferris wheel had stopped and that he was in the top car. Fern lay dreaming that she was getting sick in the swings. Lurvy was in the bed by 8:30. He was laying dreaming about throwing balls at the cloth cat and winning a genuine Navajo blanket. Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman were in bed by 9. Mr. Zuckman lay dreaming about the deep freeze unit. Mrs. Zuckman lay dreaming about Wilbur. He dreamt Wilbur had grown until he was 160 feet long and 92 feet high, and that he had won all the ribbons and prizes at the fair. He was covered in blue ribbons. Blue ribbons are those ribbons that shows that you're a winner. He tried to end tied to the end of his tail. Down in the barn cellar, the animals too went to sleep early except for Charlotte. Tomorrow would be the fair day. Every creature planned to get up early to see Wilbur off for his great adventure. When morning came, everybody got up at daylight. The day was hot. Up the road at the Arable's house, Fern lugged a pail of hot water to her room, took a sponge bath. Then she put on the prettiest dress because she knew she would see boys at the fair. Mrs. Arable scrubbled back to the back of Avery's neck and wet his hair and parted it and brushed it down hard till it stuck to the top of his head. All about 6 hairs stood straight up. Avery put on a clean underwear and clean blue jeans and a clean shirt. Mr. Arable dressed, ate breakfast, and went out and polished his truck. He had offered to drive everybody to the fair, including Wilbur. Bright and early, Lurvy put clean straw in Wilbur's crate and lifted it into the pen. The crate was green. The gold letters said, Zuckerman's famous pig. Thanks to Charlotte making him famous. Charlotte had her way of looking fine for the occasion. Wilbur ate his breakfast slowly. He took a look around, radiant without getting food in his ears. The kitchen, Mrs. Zuckerman suddenly made an announcement. Homer, she said to her husband, I'm going to give the pig a buttermilk bath. What, said Mr. Zuckerman? A buttermilk bath? My grandmother used to bathe her pig with buttermilk until it got dirty. I just remembered. Wilbur's not dirty, said Mr. Zuckerman proudly. He's filthy behind the ears, said Mrs. Zuckerman. Every time Lurvy slops him, food runs down the back of his ears. Then it dries, a form of crust. He also has a smudge on the side where he lays in manure. He lays in clean straw, corrected Mr. Zuckerman. Well, he's dirty, and I'm going to give him a bath. Mr. Zuckerman sat down weakly and ate his donut. His wife went to the woodshed. When she returned with her rubber gloves and boot and raincoat, she carried a bucket of buttermilk and a wooden spoon paddle. Edith, you're crazy, mumbled Zuckerman. But she paid no attention to him. Together they walked to the pig pen. Mrs. Zuckerman wasted no time. She climbed in Wilbur's pen and went to work, dipping her paddle in the buttermilk, rubbed him all over. The geese gathered around to see the fun, and so did the sheep and the lambs. Even Templeton poked his head out cautiously to watch Wilbur get a buttermilk bath. Charlotte got so interested she lowered herself on a drag line so she could see better. Wilbur stood and closed his eyes. He could feel the buttermilk trickling down his sides. He opened his mouth and some ran in. It was delicious. He felt radiant and happy. When Mrs. Zuckerman got through and rubbed him dry, he was the cleanest, prettiest pig you ever wanted to see. He was pure white, pink around the ears and snout, and smooth as silk. The Zuckermans went up to change into their best clothes. Lurvy went to shave and put on his plaid shirt and his purple necktie. The animals were left to themselves to the barn. The 7 goslings paraded around and around their mother. Please, 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 take us to the fair, begged a gosling. All 7 began to tease and go. Please, 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 please. They made quite a racket. Children, snapped the goose, we're staying quietly at home. Only Wilbur is going to the fair. Just then Charlotte interrupted. I shall go too, she said softly. I have decided to go with Wilbur. He may need me. We can't tell what might happen at the fairgrounds. Somebody's got to go along who knows how to ride. And I think Templeton better come too. I might need somebody to run errands, to do general work. I'm staying right here, grumbled the rat. I haven't the slightest interest in fairs. That's because you've never gone to one, remarked the old sheep. A fair is a rat's paradise. Everybody spills food at the fair. A rat can creep out late at night and have a feast. In the horse barn, you'll find oats that trotted and pacers have spilled. In the trampled grass and fields, you'll find old discarded lunch boxes, containers, foils, remains of peanut butter sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, cracker crumbs, bits of donuts, and particles of cheese. In the hard-packed dirt in the midway, after the glaring lights were out and people would go home, you'll find veritable treasures of popcorn fragments, frozen custard dribblings, candy apples abandoned by children, sugar fluff crystals of cotton candy, salted almond popsicles, partially gnawed ice cream cones, wooden sticks of lollipops. Everywhere is loot for a rat, and tents and booths and haylofts. Why, a fair has enough disgusting leftover food to satisfy a whole army of rats. Templeton's eyes were blazing. Is this true, he asked. Is this an appetizing yarn of yours true? I like highly living, and what you say tempts me. It's true, said the old sheep. Go to the fair, Templeton. You'll find that conditions at the fair will surpass your wildest dreams. Bucket of sour mash to stick them tins, containers, particles of tuna fish, greasy paper stuffed with rotten. That's enough, cried Templeton. Don't tell me any more. I'm going. Good, said Charlotte, winked at the old sheep. Why did you think Charlotte winked? Well, one reason she winked is because they convinced Templeton to go. He wasn't going to go. But all of this talk of temptations and yummy food, Templeton said, I'm there. I'm going to eat. Now and then, there is no time to be lost. Wilbur will soon be put into the crate. Templeton, I must get in the crate. Templeton, I must get into the crate right now and hide ourselves. The rat didn't waste a minute. He scampered over to the crate, gnawed between the slats, and pulled straw over him and was hidden from sight. All right, said Charlotte, I'm next. She sailed into the air, let out a drag line, and dropped gently to the ground. Then she climbed inside the crate and hid herself in a knothole in the top of the board. The old sheep nodded. What a cargo, she said. That sign ought to say Zuckerman's famous pigs and 2 stowaways. Stowaways are people that's trying to get a free ride. Look out. The people are coming. Coming, shouted the gander. Cheese it, cheese it, cheese it. The big truck with Mr. Arable at the wheel backed slowly down towards the barn. Lurvy and Mr. Zuckerman walked along. Fern and Avery were standing aside the truck, holding onto the sideboards. Listen to me, whispered the sheep to Wilbur. When they open the crate and try to put you in, struggle. Don't go without a tussle. Pigs always resist when they are being loaded. If I struggle, I'll get dirty, said Wilbur. Never mind that. Do as I say. Struggle. If you walk into the crate without resisting, man, they might think you were bewitched. He'd be scared to go to the fair. Templeton poked his head through the straw. Struggle if you must, he said, but kindly remember that I'm hiding here in this crate, and I don't want you to step on. And I don't want to be stepped on or kicked in the face or plummeted or crashed in any way or squashed or buffeted about or bruised, lacerated or scared or biffed. Just watch out what you're doing, Mr. Radiant, when they get shoving you in. Be quiet, Templeton, said the sheep. Pour your head. They're coming. Look radiant, Wilbur. Lay low, Charlotte. Talk it up, geese. The truck backed slowly to the pig pen and stopped. Mr. Arable cut the motor, got out and walked around to the rear. He lowered the tailgate. The geese cheered. Mr. Arable got out of the truck. Fern and Avery jumped in the ground around Mr. Zuckerman and came down from the house. Everybody lined up to the fence and stood admiring Wilbur and the beautiful green crate. Nobody realized that the crate had already contained a rat and a spider. That's some pig, said Mrs. Arable. He's terrific, said Lurvy. He's radiant, said Fern, remembering the day he was born. She was there the whole time. Well, said Mrs. Zuckerman, he's clean anyway. The buttermilk certainly helped. Mr. Arable studied Wilbur carefully. Yes, he's a wonderful pig, he said. It's hard to believe that he was a runner of a litter. You'll get some extra good ham and bacon, Homer, when it comes time to kill the pig. Wilbur heard these words, and his heart almost stopped. I think I'm going to faint, he whispered to the old sheep who's watching. Kneel down, whispered old sheep. Let the blood rush to your head. Wilbur sank to his knees, all radiant, gone, his eyes closed. Look, screamed Fern, he's fading away. Hey, watch me, yelled Avery, crawling all over fours onto the crate. I'm a pig, I'm a pig. Avery's foot touched Templeton under the straw. What a mess, thought the rat. What fantastic creatures boys are. Why did I let myself in for this? The geese saw Avery in the crate and cheered. Avery, you get out of that crate instantly, commanded his mother. What do you think you are? I'm a pig, cries Avery, tossing handfuls of straw into the air. Oink, oink, oink. This boy. The truck is rolling away, Papa, said Fern. The truck with no one at the wheel. He started to roll down the hill. Mr. Arable dashed to the driver's seat, pulled the emergency brake, and stopped the truck. The geese cheered. Charlotte crouched and made herself small as possible in the knothole so Avery wouldn't see her. Come out once, cried Mrs. Arable. Avery crawled out of the crate and on his hands and knees making faces at Wilbur. Wilbur fainted away. The pig has passed out, said Mr. Zuckerman. Throw water on him. Throw buttermilk, suggested Avery. The geese cheered. Lurvy ran for a pail of water. Fern climbed into the pen and knelt by side of Wilbur. It's sunstroke, said Zuckerman. The heat is too hot for him. Maybe he's dead, said Avery. Come out of the pig pen immediately, cried Mrs. Arable. Avery obeyed his mother and climbed onto the back of the truck so she could see him better. Lurvy returned with cold water and dashed it on Wilbur. Throw some on me, cried Avery. I'm hot too. Oh, quiet, hollered Fern. Keep quiet. His eyes were brimmed with tears. Wilbur, feeling the cold water, came too. He rose slowly to his feet while the geese cheered. The geese is having a good time. They're cheering at everything. Here's a picture of He's up, said Mr. Arable. I'm guessing there's nothing wrong with him. I'm hungry, said Avery. I want a candied apple. Wilbur's all right now, said Fern. We can start. I want to take a ride in the Ferris wheel. Mr. Zuckerman and Mr. Arable and Lurvy grabbed the pig and pushed him headfirst towards the crate. Wilbur began to struggle. The harder the man pushed, the harder he held back. Avery jumped down and joined the man. Wilbur kicked and thrashed and grunted. Nothing wrong with this pig, said Mr. Zuckerman, cheerfully pressing his knees against Wilbur's behind. All together, now, boys, shove. The final heave, they jammed him into the crate. The geese cheered. Lurvy nailed some boards across the end so Wilbur couldn't come back out. Then using all their strength, the man picked up the crate and heaved it into the back of the truck. They did not know under the straw was a rat. Inside the knothole was a gray spider. They only saw a pig. Everybody in, called Mr. Arable. He started the motor. The ladies climbed in beside him. Mr. Zuckerman and Lurvy and Fern and Avery rode in the back, hanging on to the sideboards. The truck began to move ahead. The geese cheered. The children answered their cheer, and away they went to the fair. All right. So yes, there they are. Wilbur heard that he was going to possibly be ham and bacon, and he made his way to fate. So that was something. We are talking about figurative language, and unfortunately, in this part of the book, there isn't any figurative language, but we will see some and hear some soon. But right now, I want to kind of go over my little trusty and dandy. Let me do it this way. Bear with me. Let's do figurative language. See, I figured something out. There we go. Bam, perfect. So, hyperbole. Hyperbole is something I talked about last week, and it is actually, what did I do? Okay. Hyperbole is a figure of speech. It's used with exaggerations. So when you're talking about a hyperbole, you may probably and primarily will say something like, my father is old as time. Now, everybody knows that time is severely old. There's no way your father can be that old. But you're just expressing how old he is. Here's another one. She ran faster than the wind. Now, we already know no one can run fast as the wind. But actually, they're comparing how fast she is to how fast the wind is. But they're just using an exaggeration to say, wow, she's really fast. Okay? Here's an idiom that was talked about last week as well. Now, an idiom is a phrase that has no literal meaning, which means it has no meaning. It shows facts behind the story. Say, for example, let me just put that down. It bears no literal meaning, which means how facts in a bad situation that good can be found in there. So say for example it's raining. But it means that something can be good found in a bad situation. So say for example, I'm trying to think of a good one for you. Oh, let's check this out. This is one of my favorites. So you'll hear this statement when you go to see a play or you know somebody in the play. They will say, break a leg. Now, everybody knows no one wants to break a leg at all. I don't understand why you even want to break a leg. Okay. Oh, camera's falling down. I don't know why you want to break a leg, but that is an idiom. It actually means good luck. So you take a bad situation and you find something good in it. Good luck. So that's just a recap of the idioms and hyperbole that we talked about last week. We also talked about, I think there was an Ed puzzle, one of my favorite Ed puzzles, with the young lady doing the song of hyperbole and idioms. So you can also go back and watch those. I'll put a link in the video where you can actually access that. All right, I think that's it for today. That's a pretty good amount of time. If you have any questions, make sure you hit the subscribe, comment, and like button. Do all of those. And I will talk to you later. If you have any questions, I am on Google Classroom all the time. You feel free to ask me those questions. Okay? Have a great day. Bye-bye.